It's finally time, and I'm really excited as we get into the 13th episode of To Your Eternity. I kind of skipped a couple episodes here because I kind of took a break from watching this show, and yesterday I got all caught up, watched episode 11 and episode 12, as well as the newest episode, day 13. So to give my impressions on the wrap-up of essentially Gugu's story, I was absolutely fantastic. Again, continuing this kind of efforts that Brainsbase is doing to essentially take this manga and elevate it to even better levels. They definitely pulled it off. All these scenes that I was looking forward to being portrayed in the anime were just excellently done. Now, I will say, similarly to I think what I was mentioning with Gugu's story being told in the earlier parts of this arc, feels like it's kind of rushing through things pretty quickly. So there is a little bit of an issue with pacing. While again, I do acknowledge that technically in the manga, these story beats kind of went quickly as well. And it seems like they almost as if they're matching that, but it doesn't feel correct when it's in an animated form. But even still, it got the point across. It told the stories that it was supposed to tell. And they did an incredible job of kind of hitting those emotional impacting points, like the whole situation with Gugu protecting Rin. Of course, when Rin kind of figures out that Gugu was the one that did help her, was actually protecting her, not just attacking her like she originally thought this person attacked her. It was him saving her life. Was really powerful, really did like that. I loved how they portrayed Fushi essentially reacting to the pain and the suffering that Gugu was going through as he was protecting Rin. His heart starts to really kind of pick up, and he feels this, and he knows it's coming. And unfortunately, it does happen. He finally changes into Gugu, and he realizes at that point, no, he can't be dead. He can't be dead. He can't be dead. Just so well done. I just love it. And of course, having this continued theme as afterwards, after they've already buried him, having Rin finally wake up and try to look for him. And he, of course, accidentally transforms into Gugu and tries to make it out as if Fushi was the one that died. And she, of course, figures this out, but it's just a really, really tragic whole situation. Everything involved with it is tragic. And like I said, just they pulled it off so well in portraying it. I just absolutely love the work they're doing on this series so far. Of course, I kind of skipped ahead, but yeah, they technically did get into the idea that while he was with Gugu and all them, he did purposely decide to spend 4 years as a human. He tried not to. He didn't transform. He didn't do any kind of conjuring. He just basically lived and he actually aged. He let himself actually age, which was kind of interesting. And of course, the Beholder kind of insinuates this as being a thing of him weakening himself. He doesn't see it as a good thing. He wants him to travel and keep moving, but him kind of staying stationary kind of learns. This is the interesting thing, because we've always kind of spent this time with Fushi essentially learning. He's always learning, and he's trying to be more and more like a human. And as it gets into the 13th episode, it's kind of more hitting on the idea of now that he's established knowledge, he's established what things are, he's establishing knowledge of humankind. He's now trying to learn more further things. He's experienced emotions, and now he's trying to understand emotions. He's experienced life, and now he's trying to make sense of death. And so, obviously, as it gets into the 13th episodes, he's trying to figure out, why did Gugu have to die? Why do I always live? Why am I who I am? Who am I? All these questions really start kicking up, and that's when, of course, the Beholder mentions the idea that he was created to essentially collect knowledge and preserve it, almost as if these experiences that he's experiencing are things that he must preserve. And of course, Fushi doesn't want that. He's like, if you can control me, why don't you just take out the thing that as they call them, the knockers? Why don't you take them out? And he's like, well, no, I can't. It's something that you have to do, and eventually I'm no longer going to be here, and you have to take care of it. And so it's kind of insinuating the idea that Beholder is not going to always be around. And this is where and of course, he runs into Piorin again. Piorin, says that she's going to basically spend the remaining life that she has kind of helping him out. It's what she decided. She's not going to turn back on it. This is what she's going to do. And of course, they both end up going to a dock in order to go to a remote peninsula in order to basically get away from the population, but also to a place where he can both train and eventually confront the knockers, because they believe that if they utilize the whole heating and cooling aspect that they essentially end up using on the knocker before, they can possibly do that here at this remote location. And as they're trying to get on a ship to go there, they end up getting kind of corralled into a different ship, which is actually a prisoner ship. And this is essentially the start of the next arc, which, like I mentioned before, this is essentially where I fell off from the series, the original manga. So it is both exciting, the idea that I now finally kind of get to experience the story being told through this really well-adapted format. But at the same time, I am leery because, again, this is technically the arc where I fell off of this series. I seem to remember that I got pretty darn late into this story, or it felt like it was kind of concluding. But essentially, this island arc was a struggle for me, and this is like I said, I'm hoping this adaptation will re-spark my interest in the series because I did like it up to this point. I loved Gugu's story. I loved March's story. I even loved Joan's story. I loved all these stories, but this is the point in which it started getting, I don't know. I know that a huge part of it was, and this is like soft spoilers because it technically is in the preview. The preview mentions there's a returning person, and I think that was a thing that the returning aspects was a frustrating thing to me. But of course, it starts things off with them, him and Pionen trying to get on a boat to go to this remote location, and of course, they're kind of offered to take another boat because that one's full, and it ends up being this girl who's seemingly tricking them into getting on this prisoner boat where they immediately are branded and sent to this prisoner island. And there, Fushi's trying to find Pionen, and as he's trying to climb this wall to get to where her scent is, this girl and her crew, the girl that tricked them into coming to this island, come up and says, look, if you find it, it's not like you're going to be able to get out of here. This is a prison. You're stuck here. And the only way out is essentially to go to this tournament. So obviously it seems like she brought him there for that tournament. But again, that's something we'll probably see going in the coming episodes. But yeah, like I said, most of this episode, 13 anyways, is really kind of focused on the idea of him really struggling with his emotions, struggling with the loss of Gugu, having Pionen kind of sticking with him, and then getting somehow tricked to go to this island. We'll see. Like I said, the one thing I was excited about the most with this adaptation was how much I was loving how much Brain Space was kind of elevating each of these emotional points. So I'm really hoping that this adaptation will re-spark my love for this series. I'm hesitant because I don't know if I'm gonna like this arc this time around again, because essentially is the arc that was at least the later part of it was the reason why I ended up walking away from this series as a whole, or at least drifting away from it. So I'm excited to see if it really does kind of turn things around for me, and I will be hopefully doing a weekly impressions on this. It seems like this current season is a little bit light on these shows that have things worth kind of talking about on a weekly basis, so I'll probably be kicking this up again as my Monday impressions episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed this impression. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the series and this episode in particular, or maybe just Gugu's the conclusion of Gugu's arc. Subscribe if you haven't already. I thank you all for watching, and y'all take care.